Hey guys, welcome back. This is going to be kind of a more old style video. I just wanted to shoot a quick video, before Christmas time and kind of show you where we're at on the car. So the last video you saw, I just got my clutch. I still haven't put it in the car yet, but I'm trying to get side projects out of the way, final 5% kind of stuff. So my wife and I took our transmission and transfer case from this car up to TRE last week. So TRE is Team Rip Engineering. It's run by John Ripple out of Kalamazoo, Michigan, which is a day trip for us. So he said that if we wanted to bring the stuff up ourselves to save on shipping and not have to worry about shipping damage, he'd go ahead and do the teardown in front of us. So we're like, oh yeah, that sounds awesome. So we went up there and dropped off the transmission and transfer case. He opened them up, said everything actually looks pretty good. It's one of the cleaner transmissions he's disassembled. There really was not any damage to speak of to the components. You guys who follow the channel might remember I have a lot of problems with my second and third gear synchros. Second, third, and fourth gear synchros were all really shot. So it's ready for the rebuild. So the plan is to I'm keeping the stock first gear. Originally, we were going to swap that out for a USDM one. That was a little bit later model because this is a real Evo 4 transmission. So a lot of the stuff that's in it is older style. But when he saw the condition of everything and saw how the car was being treated and stuff based on the damage to the gears, which there wasn't any, he kind of was like, you know what, there's not really any reason to change your first gear out. I would just stick with it. But we did go ahead and upgrade second gear to the triple synchro second because the Evo 4 transmission has a double synchro second. And I'm also upgrading or downgrading, depending on how you look at it, the JDM fifth gear, which is a 0.825 ratio, to the Evo 9 fifth gear, which is a 7:6:1 ratio. A lot of people go to the JDM fifth because it's better for circuit racing, but considering a lot of what I do with this car is just cruising around and, cruising on the highway, it gets real old real quick, cruising at, 65, 70 miles an hour over 4,000 RPM. So going ahead and going to the middle of the road, the Evo 9 sixth gear, the 7:6:1 ratio, is 7% taller than the Evo 5 or Evo 4 JDM fifth, and the Evo 8 USDM fifth gear is 12% taller. So I kind of was like, well, I don't want to go too tall and then make the shift from fourth to fifth a big gap, but I also didn't want to go too short, so I decided to just go with the JDM or with the Evo 9 sixth. So many acronyms. Let me see here. So that's what's going on with that. The transfer case, actually I have the original open diff here. It was hanging up. There was apparently an issue with the gears from new, where there was burrs at the valley of all of these two side gears, and it was causing the transfer case to stick. So I thought, well, I probably broke the spider gears, but turns out that I actually didn't. It was just, and they do have a couple of little cracks. We nitride treated them while we were up there just to see, and, sorry, not nitride treated, what am I thinking? Magnafluxed. We magnafluxed them to check and see if there was cracks, and there was a couple of really minute ones, but John even said, he's like, nah, probably your issue is more those burrs than anything else, and they were probably that way since new. So other upgrades we're doing is I'm getting the Liberty torque tube. That's why this torque tube is here. And then I'm also putting a wave track in from the Evo, from the USDM, or well, I guess any of the CT9A chassis, so Evo 7, 8, 9. So to do that, there's a pretty significant amount of work involved in modifying the transfer case. He has to, let's see, he has to turn the housing on a lathe so that the wave track will actually fit inside it. He's got to turn the wave track down a little bit on a lathe. And then he also has to remove the lead babbitt bearings that old assembly rode in. And I have to switch up to a different oil because it's going to be aluminum on aluminum. So, but he said that he's done that on quite a few cars. So lots of guys overseas are running the wave tracks in the older style transfer case with no huge issues. So so that's the route that we're going with this. But yeah, nothing real major, just a different second, a different fifth gear, the Liberty torque tube, and then basically his standard rebuild, which is the street strip rebuild, which is not standard at all. It's actually lots of work, lots of gear detailing and shop painting stuff, and it's going to be a heck of a transmission when it's done, and it's going to be a heck of a transfer case when it's done. So it still has the inherent weakness of the Evo 4 to 6 transfer case as far as the gears themselves are physically smaller. Nothing really can be done about that. That just is what it is. But on the car currently, I just finished, you can kind of see it in there. I did a steering rack rebuild on a spare rack I had. So all new seals. I've got those Super Pro bushings installed. I had the brackets on there, but they were really rusty and nasty. So I've got those, sandblasted those. So they look basically brand new. And then my brother is restoring an old Polaris 4x6 six-wheeler. And he's been using this implement, like farm and implement paint. So I didn't really just want to paint them with regular, Duplicolor or whatever paint, because I've actually done that before with a part for the power steering system. And the second power steering fluid touches it, it just completely ruins the paint. So I'm like, well, I don't really want to just use that normal paint because the chemical just eats through it. So when I was talking to my brother, he was like, well, we could try, or actually it was my dad, I think, who suggested it. He's like, well, maybe you should see if your brother could use some of that implement paint on those, and that stuff should be really chemical resistant. I mean, you can bang on stuff with a hammer and it doesn't scratch the finish up because of just how ridiculously strong it's meant to be. So my brother's painting those for me right now, and those should be back like the day after Christmas probably, which he just lives down the road, but the paint takes like 3 days to cure after you do the final coat, and you have to wait 24 hours between coats. So, but when I get them back, I mean, I don't think I'll ever have to mess with them again. They should be crazy strong paint. So that's done. I just installed Moog inner tie rods and Moog boots, which are a little bit more expensive than just the regular whatever parts store ones, but Moog stuff I've had really good luck with. So to me, it's worth the premium to not have to do this job again anytime soon, because it's really not a lot of fun. So I cleaned up my flywheel bolts on my drill press with the wire wheel and chased out the crankshaft bolt holes, so that is all ready to go. As soon as I get these inner tie rods tightened and the boots installed permanently, then I am good to go ahead and install my clutch, which will get another box out of my house, which would be nice. Really happy to see that my rear main seal is still perfect. I mean, it should be. There's probably only 10,000 miles on this engine since I finished the build. maybe 15, but I really doubt it. I'd have to look at the odometer. I've got everything written down, but so yeah, the steering rack's almost done. I've made sure it's centered so that the alignment shop doesn't have to mess with that. Once the clutch goes in, then I just gotta get John some cash for the transmission and transfer case stuff, and hopefully that'll be back sometime in the next couple of, I don't know, next 2 or 3 months. So that stuff's really expensive. But once that stuff's done, I'm going to try to clean up this big old mess of wires here. I wasn't really happy with the way that it was run from the factory, and I didn't change the way that I ran it. I just put it back where it was in the factory, but I'm kind of trying to do a wire tuck now. I think I videoed before that I had done, well, maybe I only posted it on the Facebook, but I changed up a bunch of stuff back here, if I can see it. So I did a wire tuck back here and ran the wires under the intake manifold, which is really hard to hold the phone under this bracket, but under this brace, but it looks really, really good. So I want to keep going with that and really have a nice clean engine bay. This engine support bar has been a real help on the build. They're like $90 at Harbor Freight and worth every penny for a transverse engine like this. The only other thing that I've done recently is the headlight build. So I never super liked the let me put this flashlight down somewhere. I'll just put it back here. I never super liked these headlights that I got. Were somebody had retrofitted them. I think the guy's out of China. I remember his eBay username was Crazy the God, which I'm like, okay, well, but anyway, I never thought they were the prettiest lights, but from day one I had planned to do this. It was just a whenever I get to it kind of thing, because I mean they worked, so it wasn't a super big priority. But I disassembled the headlights. I painted the entire bezel here satin black, because this part inside here was chrome originally, as well as the what are those called? The lens covers. There's a term for them, but I painted those blue, which I used like the chrome blue paint. It's not perfect, but it looks pretty good, I think, and it got rid of the yellow LED ring, which I never was planning on using it, so it just kind of is what it is. The ballasts here, these are not the ballasts I'm going to be using when it's all done. It's just what I had. It's what he included with them. But really happy with the way it turned out. The white strip is a sequential switchback LED strip. So, and I don't have a battery in the car, so sadly I can't show you guys, but when the turn signals go, it goes around like this, which is cool. And then these are also a daytime running light now, which is like a super pure white daytime running light, and I really like the way that they look. I haven't quite figured out how to do the turn signals yet. Originally just planned on wiring them into the factory turn signal, but the problem is that the signal blinks too quickly for the light. It only makes it to about here, and then it resets. So obviously that doesn't really work. I probably need to look at installing a relay or something like. I'm sure that stuff exists somewhere online. I've never been a huge headlight enthusiast, so I haven't done all the research on it, but I'll get it figured out. The other thing that I did was I installed the Morimoto XBT Demon Eye kit, which looks absolutely awesome in this car. The control boxes are whatever these, I think these are ballasts, are here. The control box I've got mounted down here under the intake, and it Bluetooth syncs to my phone, and it's RGB. I can set it to whatever color I want. So, which of course is blue pretty much all the time. So And the nice thing is too is you can shut it off from your phone. So since I don't think they're legal to use while on the street, and also they are set to shut off automatically when the headlights turn on. So that's really nice. But yeah, so once I get the transmission and transfer case done, I wasn't planning on having to do all of that this year. Like, that's a huge hit. I mean, between that clutch and the transmission and transfer case, that's pretty much my car budget for the year. But I don't know, we'll see. The nice thing is that once that's done, it's really just final 5% stuff. The only other major mods that I'm going to be doing to this car is it's going to get a Haltech Elite 1500, which I may still be able to do this year. And then the last big mod is going to be the turbo kit. So still looking at doing an FP black ball bearing kit, but it's going to be a lot more than that. It's going to be a pretty slick kit. It's going to be a lot of force performance stuff on the hot side here. So but yeah, once those couple of things are done, I still need to address the tire size issue. Probably going to be looking at doing some kind of over fender, and I really hate that because I didn't really want to do that. I don't love the over fender look, but I really want to fit bigger wheels and tires. I mean, you can see that's about as flush as it gets, and that scrubs pretty good still, even though I've got the fenders rolled as far as I can go with them, and that's only a 215. So not a lot of tire can fit on the narrow body cars, but we'll see what I can do with it. So, but yeah, anyway, so that's the update on the build. I can't think of too much else. I mean, really, this car is almost done, and it's dangerous to say that you've almost finished a project car, but I mean, really, this car is almost what I want it to be. So it's going to be, just like I said, final 5% stuff after that. Especially once the turbo kit's done, I'm hoping to dynamat the interior to try to reduce some of the vibration that gets transferred into the car. It's kind of harsh with no balance shafts. It really frees the motor up, and I don't want to have balance shafts spinning in there anyway, just because they spin 3 times faster than the engine. So if I spin this engine to 7,500 RPM, or just say 7,000 to make it easier math, that means the balance shafts are spinning at what, 21,000 RPM. So it's like, yeah, no, I don't want to deal with that. That's why a lot of people spin their balance shaft bearings, because just the sheer ridiculousness of the lubrication requirements for a piece of metal spinning at that speed in your engine is insane. So for reliability's sake, I wanted to get rid of them, and putting the fluid damper on there really helped reduce the harshness, but still gets a lot of it transferred to the car. So I'm going to dynamat it. I'm also changing the brake setup up a little bit. I've got those Carbon Lorraine RC5 Plus pads on the front, and I had them on the rear too, but it's just so loud. So I've got StopTech Sport pads on the Brembos on my WRX. I'm really happy with those, so I'm probably going to put the Carbon Lorraines on a shelf and then run StopTech Sports for the most part, which, yeah, Brembos on the WRX. So which I know some of you guys were asking about this car. Yes, I actually do own a Subaru. Sorry. Actually, I own a few Subarus, and well, just two right now. This car, and then my wife daily drives a 5-speed Outback. So, but I actually bought this car brand new in 2012, and I ordered it. It had 6 miles on it when it showed up from Japan. And I had they didn't have any more World Rally Blue ones, and I wanted a World Rally Blue hatchback with specific options on it, so I custom ordered this car, and it's just a very mildly modified example. Oops. very mildly modified example. I've got the Brembos front and rear, which the only reason I'm trying to be sparing with modifications to this car. The reason I did that is because I took this car to Colorado a couple years ago, and coming down the mountain pass, I completely cooked the rear rotors, and it was just not a lot of fun to drive anymore because that pedal vibration was just miserable. And the rear rotors on these cars are solid, so there's no vent in between. So I had EBC rear rotors on it for a while, and that really helped a lot. But eventually, there's just only so much heat dissipation a solid rotor can do. So I stepped up to the Brembos just to get that vented rear rotor, and I don't mind the weight penalty just for the longevity aspect of it, since this is a daily. It's got RC sway bars on it, which is the hollow sway bar, and in my opinion the best set you can get for this. Cartboy front and rear end links, and a couple little engine mods, nothing real major. I actually just finished. So I've had these Pro Sport gauges in this car for quite a long time, 6 years I think, and the oil pressure sender just gave up the ghost on me this week. Which, you know, some people were complaining about the pressure senders only lasting for months and stuff. I tend to think that it's a lot of people are just installing them wrong. I've had mine for 6 years and it just now failed, so to me that's okay. And it's not like it catastrophically failed, it just stopped working. So put a new one in and it's good. I wrapped this in carbon fiber, put the Perrin parts on there, got the Subaru badges, Perrin radiator stays, Cobb air box and access port, Perrin strut tower brace, Grimspeed master cylinder brace. It's a lot of parts, but it's all parts that just make the experience better. It doesn't really add much horsepower. We've got stock downpipe still, and it's got an NVIDIA N1 dual titanium tip exhaust, which I bought used from a guy here locally. So it's a pretty solid daily. I mean, people complain about Subarus being unreliable, but honestly, I'm at 76,000 miles on this, and I've really not had to do anything major to it. So, I mean, I tend to think it's the way people modify them. I'm pushing basically stock boost, and to me that's fine. You know, it's not a peak horsepower kind of car. You know, it's just kind of it's kind of a, maybe not the best comparison, but think of it like a classic 911. Like nobody's out there trying to set quarter mile records with them. They're more of an all-rounder, nice canyon car. Not that there's many canyons in Indiana, but there's some good roads. So, but I really like it. I'm super happy with it as a daily. I think the next thing I'm going to do on it is going to be a headlight build as well, because these are not HIDs. They're just halogen projectors. So I'll probably get a bunch of Morimoto stuff for these as well. But yeah, anyway, so yeah. Oh, and of course, you can't forget the Rally Armor mud flaps. You know, obligatory Subaru part there. But anyway, so yeah, that's the update on the Evo. You guys are now is up to speed. Is there's going to be for anything to talk about on this car probably until, you know, spring. So hopefully I'll have the clutch in the car here soon and have the steering rack job all done within the next week or two. But once that clutch is in the car, I really can't do a thing else until I get the transmission back. So that's the plan. But anyway, I'll keep you guys posted, and yeah, have a Merry Christmas, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.